Schopenhauer's shocking insights on women that will make you rethink your worldview. Picture this. You're scrolling through your phone late at night. Another relationship just crashed and burned. That familiar hollow feeling spreads through your chest as you wonder, what am I missing? Why does this keep happening? You're not alone. And what if I told you that the answers you're searching for were discovered centuries ago, then deliberately hidden from you? Today I'm going to reveal something that might disturb you at first. But stay with me, because beyond that initial discomfort lies a freedom and clarity that few men ever experience. By the end of our journey together, you'll understand not only why your relationships follow predictable patterns, but how to transform this knowledge into unshakable personal power, the illusion that traps most men. Let me ask you something. Have you ever given everything to someone? Your time, your loyalty, your future, only to watch her interest slowly fade? Have you ever caught her in lies that made you question everything? And in that moment of painful clarity, did you blame yourself, wondering if you simply weren't enough? That gnawing doubt, that self-questioning, it's by design. It's the same trap that has ensnared men for thousands of years. The ancient philosophers understood something profound about human nature that modern society has tried desperately to conceal. They observed, with clinical detachment, that men and women experience love fundamentally differently. This isn't about blame or hatred. It's about recognizing a biological reality that shapes every interaction between the sexes. The uncomfortable truth is this. While men love idealistically, building their devotion on loyalty and sacrifice, women love opportunistically, not out of malice or calculation, but out of deeply ingrained evolutionary imperatives that prioritize security and advancement. When you understand this single insight, suddenly everything makes sense. The devoted husband who becomes invisible to his wife, the nice guy who keeps finishing last, the successful man blindsided by betrayal. These aren't random tragedies. They're predictable outcomes of misunderstanding female nature, the ancient wisdom modern society buried. The great philosophers didn't stumble upon these insights by accident. They observed human behavior with unflinching honesty across cultures and eras. What they discovered wasn't politically correct or comforting, but it was true. Consider how in ancient societies a woman's survival literally depended on her ability to secure protection and resources. Emotion followed strategy, not the other way around. A man could devote himself entirely to a woman, but her dedication was invariably conditional, tethered to his continued utility and status. The philosophers saw this dynamic not with resentment, but with the detached clarity of observers studying human nature. They realized that male suffering stems from a fundamental delusion, the belief that women value love in the same way men do. And here's where it gets darker. The more a man idealizes a woman, placing her on a pedestal and sacrificing everything for her, the more power he gives her to destroy him. Sound familiar? That gnawing feeling when you realize your sacrifices meant nothing? That's not coincidence. It's a pattern as old as humanity itself. But this realization isn't a dead end. It's the beginning of liberation. Because once you see the game for what it is, you can finally stop playing the fool. The path of transformation. Now, most men who glimpse these truths react in one of two ways. They either spiral into bitterness, becoming angry and resentful toward all women, or they desperately cling to their illusions, doubling down on their devotion and hoping for a different outcome. Both paths lead to suffering. But there is a third way, the philosopher's path. It doesn't rely on changing women or manipulating them. It focuses entirely on transforming yourself. This is where true power begins. The ancient thinkers called this state ataraxia, a serene indifference to what you cannot control. Not the cold withdrawal of someone who's given up, but the unshakable clarity of a man who has seen the game for what it is and chosen to rise above it. Imagine this. A young philosopher, heart still raw from betrayal, pacing through the marketplace. He realizes something revolutionary. His suffering doesn't come from her actions, but from his own expectations. The moment he stops demanding that women love like men, The moment he accepts their nature without illusion, something extraordinary happens. The power dynamic flips. No longer is he begging for affection or validation. He becomes an observer, a student of human nature. And that shift, that's where true freedom begins. This isn't about giving up on connections with women. It's about engaging with clear eyes. The philosopher still interacted with women, but on his terms, with no illusions. He could laugh at their contradictions, study their impulses, and never hand them the knife they could stab him in the back with. That's the core wisdom. You can't be betrayed if you never expected unconditional loyalty in the first place. Transforming pain into power. Now we come to the most important part of our journey together, the method for turning this understanding into personal mastery. The same approach that has forged legends and built empires can rebuild you from the ground up. There comes a moment in every great man's life, a crucible where pain either breaks him or forges something unstoppable. For the ancient philosophers, those moments often came during public humiliation, exile, or even facing death. Their response? Not rage, not pleading, a knowing smile, because they'd already won. They had discovered the ultimate cheat code to male suffering. They can only destroy you if you still care what they think. This is the philosopher's greatest weapon, the ability to take betrayal, humiliation, even death, and transmute it into fuel for something greater. Modern men call it stoicism. The ancients called it the mastery of one's inner chaos. And here's the brutal truth they don't teach you. Your pain isn't the problem. Your refusal to use it is. The great philosophers didn't meditate their suffering away. They weaponized it. Every lie they'd been told, every betrayal they'd endured, became kindling for an intellectual fire that burned for millennia. While other men wasted their lives chasing validation, they asked a simple question. What if I stopped needing to be loved? Not in the bitter sense, but in the way a lion doesn't need a sheep's approval. That shift, from seeking love to seeking truth, is what separates legends from casualties. Look at history's greatest men. Marcus Aurelius turned grief into stoicism. Beethoven transformed deafness into symphonies. Nietzsche said it best, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But here's what they won't tell you, that strength comes from one place, the willingness to stare into the abyss of your own suffering and laugh. The philosopher's method. Let me show you the exact mental framework the greatest thinkers used to turn every betrayal into an advantage. The psychological alchemy that transforms agony into power. It begins with a dangerous question most men never dare ask. What if everything you've been taught about women, love, and happiness was deliberately designed to keep you weak? The mechanism the philosophers used is what modern psychology calls paradoxical intention, the art of flipping suffering on its head by leaning into what terrifies you most. When a woman betrays you, study it like a scientist. When society mocks you, become the audience. When your chest burns with rage, channel it into creation. This is how Nietzsche birthed the Übermensch concept, how Dostoevsky turned Siberian exile into crime and punishment, how the ancient philosophers drank poison with a smile, knowing their executioners were immortalizing them. The framework has 3 pillars. First, the death gaze. Stare unflinchingly at the raw truth of female nature, male disposability, and your own complicity in your suffering. Most men look away. Philosophers lean in. Second, the alchemist's crucible. Every betrayal gets distilled into either wisdom or art. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Meditations on battlefields." Beethoven composed his greatest works while deaf. Your pain is the raw material of legend if you stop wasting it on self-pity. Third, the invincible standard. The philosopher's real power wasn't logic. It was his indifference to outcomes. The moment you truly don't care if she leaves, if they laugh, if you die tomorrow, you become untouchable. Not from numbness, but from transcendence. This isn't theory. It's the hidden curriculum of history's most formidable men. The initial realization about female nature is just step 1. The philosopher's pill is realizing the game was never about women at all. It was about whether you'd remain a slave to biology or rewrite the code entirely. beyond the system. Now I'll reveal the ultimate endgame, how to exit the system entirely and claim the life that 99.9% of men never even glimpse. Here's the secret they've been hiding from you since birth. You were never meant to win the game. You were meant to leave it. The philosopher's final revelation, the one that often got them killed, wasn't about women or suffering. It was about the ultimate treason against society, building a world where their weapons can't reach you. Picture two men. The first spends his life chasing love, promotions, and validation, always hungry, never full. The second disappears into his mind. He builds an intellectual fortress so vast that sex, money, and status become trivial in comparison. By the time the first man realizes he's been running in circles, the second is already free. Not because he escaped society, but because he outgrew it. This is the philosopher's kingdom, and the passport costs nothing but your illusions. The blueprint is simple but demanding. 1. Become ungovernable. When society says chase women, you study astronomy. When culture screams consume, you create. Every should is a chain. Cut one per day. 2. Build your intellectual circle. The great thinkers surrounded themselves with the brightest minds of their time. Your inner circle must be ruthlessly curated. Let weak men chase cheap dopamine. You collect wisdom like rare artifacts. 3. Create your legacy project. They can take your job, your woman, even your life, but they can't take what you've etched into eternity. Write the book. Build the business. Forge the legacy that outlasts your enemies. And here's the final twist. The moment you truly walk this path, everything they withheld comes crawling back. Not because you wanted it, but because you stopped caring. Women sense the detachment. Power respects the unconcerned. But by then, you'll laugh because the prize they're offering is the one you voluntarily gave up years ago. Your awakening begins now. As we reach the end of our journey together, I want you to know that what I've shared isn't meant to create anger or resentment. It's meant to liberate you from illusions that cause unnecessary suffering. Understanding female nature isn't about manipulating women or becoming bitter toward them. It's about aligning yourself with reality so you can create authentic connections based on truth rather than wishful thinking. The path ahead won't always be easy. There will be moments when you slip back into old patterns, moments when the comfort of illusion seems preferable to the harshness of reality. This is normal. Growth isn't linear. But with each step forward on the philosopher's path, something remarkable happens. The pain that once consumed you begins to fuel you. The betrayals that once devastated you become your greatest teachers. And the freedom you thought required someone else's validation reveals itself to have been within your grasp all along. Remember, the ancient philosophers didn't seek to control the world around them. They sought to master themselves. And in doing so, they discovered a power that no external force could diminish. So, my friend, as you stand at this crossroads, I ask you, are you ready to leave behind comfortable illusions for uncomfortable truths? Are you willing to embark on this journey of transformation, knowing that what awaits you on the other side is worth whatever challenges you might face along the way? If your answer is yes, then know that today marks the beginning of a new chapter in your life. A chapter where confusion gives way to clarity, where frustration transforms into mastery, and where you finally step into the powerful, authentic manhood that has been your birthright all along. The ancient wisdom is now yours. What you do with it will determine whether you remain trapped in cycles of disappointment or rise to heights few men ever reach. The choice, as always, is yours. But remember, the truth may initially disturb you, but ultimately it's the only thing that can truly set you free.